Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tabor Talk. So, we got snow. I think we got 3 inches here in the Catskills, and pretty cold. I probably need another coat here. So, okay, getting right into this. Boy, I got to just say this. How great has the Joe Rogan podcast been? Just look at those guests. Holy shit. So, yesterday we had Gad Said. What an amazing podcast. Go check it out. And right now I'm finishing up today's podcast. Tristan Harris, the IT guy, actually that the documentary film on Netflix, The Social Dilemma. Is it The Social Dilemma or Social Distancing? I think it's The Social Dilemma, whatever. Check it out. It's got like already 30 million views. It's so good. And I'm going to do another video on that. Okay, getting right into this, what I really want to talk about is another great podcast. Not nearly as successful as Joe Rogan, but Lex Fridman. Lex Fridman from MIT. Actually, I think he just left MIT and has a startup. And by the way, his podcast is pretty successful. Lex is an awesome guy. And on his podcast today, actually, it was just uploaded yesterday, is none other than Eric Weinstein. Okay, so I got to tell you, I used to listen to Weinstein's podcast. He started a podcast last summer called The Portal, and man, was I pumped up for that one because I'm a huge, or I used to be, a huge Eric Weinstein fan. You know, he's always on Joe Rogan and Sam Harris, and Tim Ferriss. He did the rounds. Always one of the best guests you could ever have. Super smart, mathematician, brilliant, interesting, unique guy. And then he started his podcast last summer, and it was a huge, huge hit. Actually, for a time, he was like number one, So, and then it started to not be so good. I'll tell you what, Eric Weinstein is obnoxious. He's abrasive, and he started really going after his guests hard in a really, really an abusive way. And sometimes I like that. I like it when there's, some shit going on between host and guest. It could be kind of fun and interesting and productive and all this. But this was just shitty, And then he started putting porn stars on. Like, even Joe Rogan said to him, he goes, what the fuck? Like this Ashley Madison, she's an adult film star. And by the way, I saw it and it was actually good. It was interesting. And I go, okay. But then, like a month later, he puts another one on. I'm going, what the fuck? Even Joe Rogan, it's like, you're like this brainiac genius, like one of our major intellectual, right? Him and his brother Brett, okay? And then all of a sudden, his numbers started going down. And by the way, he doesn't even do his podcast anymore. He hasn't uploaded a podcast like 3 months. I check all the time. I think it's done. Like people are, and you look at the numbers. So I kind of said, fuck Eric Weinstein. Oh, it's another thing. Brett Weinstein was talking. And he's got a lot of that I don't know if it's alt-right, but that intellectual dark web, always going after the Democrats and liberals. And then his Brett, who was on Joe Rogan, said something really, really shitty about the George Floyd thing. He goes, Joe, was that actually a murder? And Brett is super smart in the way he phrases, his argument is compelling, right? And he was saying, did we actually witness a murder? That kind of shit. That was a fucking turnoff, right? So, all right, let me just play a little bit of this Lex Fridman, Eric Weinstein podcast. I was actually going to download it, but you know what? I'll put the link to the podcast in the comment section, and I'll just hold up my phone for a couple of minutes. And this is so good. Eric Weinstein loves music, right? And they're talking about Eddie Van Halen, the passing of Eddie Van Halen last week. I did a video, by the way. Very, very sad. And Eric Weinstein talks about how special Eddie Van Halen was. Watch this. Poetic. Okay, so here it is. I'm not going to download the video. I'm just going to hold my phone in the left-hand corner. That looks kind of professional too. And by the way, Lex talks kind of slow, and his questions, sometimes he stutters. He actually said, he says, I can understand Joe Biden because I had that issue too. Like, I'm not the greatest speaker, but he's a freaking genius. Like, the questions are great. He understands everything, but it's just his cadence is kind of slow. But it's fine. You know what I mean? Watch this. Ready? Eric Weinstein.
Eric Weinstein.
Can you see that?
Who's the greatest musician of all time?
Oh, you turned it up.
Would you say? We were just off camera talking about Eddie Van Halen. He unfortunately passed away.
Who's the greatest musician of all time?
Yeah.
Jonathan Richman.
Who's that?
It's a weird question, so I'm going to give you a weird answer. It's not because...
Thank you.
Okay. Jonathan Richman, the reason
Eric looks pretty good there.
He had a quote.
You know?
He was the
Looks like he
frontman of a
lost weight.
group called the Modern Lovers. And his quote was something like, "We have to be prepared to play music when our instruments are broken, the electricity's out, and it's raining," something like that. And I thought that quote was very interesting because what it said was, you have to be able to strip this thing down farther and farther back to get to something that is intrinsically musical. So we were having a conversation just now about virtuosity. We're talking about Eddie Van Halen and his recent passing. And that affected me emotionally. I don't know whether it affected you. I was never a Van Halen, the group, fan. But I revered Eddie Van Halen's capacity for innovation.
Yeah.
I saw him like, Rodney Mullen, the skateboarder. I had dreamed of having the two of them on the same podcast just to talk about what it's like to totally discontinuously innovate.
Yep.
And you posted a video of Spanish Fly, I think, and saying, like, I didn't know the guitar could make those kinds of sounds. Like, what is this?
Totally.
What is it? Well, this is the thing, right? The arpeggios that he did on a single string are so fast, and the attacks from the hammer-ons, when they go at light speed as he did, particularly, and the reason I chose that is that I wanted to strip out the electronics, because part of the claim will be is that he's a rock musician, and a lot of the innovations had to do with things peculiar to sort of the electrified setup. His use of the whammy bar, for example, or the Frankenstrat that he built from different pieces, right? All of those aspects, in my opinion, are just dwarfed by his innovation and his musicianship.
Yep.
And that's why I chose Spanish Fly, because everyone, of course, will go to something like Eruption or Running with the Devil, which is the first things that they heard that let them know that there was a new force erupting out of Southern California that was Eddie Van Halen, right? I mean, I'm in love with the story of it.
Mm-hmm.
You're often so poetic about music. Like, it clearly touches your soul on many levels. What is that? Is it deeper than just rocking out with in your convertible Corvette 69? I imagine Eric Weinstein just driving down the California highways, blasting some kind of music. Is it just like being able to be carefree for moments of time, or is there something more fundamental that connects to like the theory of everything in physics?
See, Lex is not smooth and articulate as, say, a Sam Harris
or even mathematics perform as you do in Bach. Right? Like something with that kind of precision and elegance that can't really be grasped, where, to go back to Leonard Cohen's famous line, the baffled king composing, right?
Such a good song.
It's such a good song, but it's also like individual verses of that song are insanely important.
See why I love Eric Weinstein? He's fucking brilliant.
King is how we often make music. We don't really understand what did we just do that broke that person's heart sitting on the couch, right? And so it's a very strange thing that you should be able to have. Think of it like you're a computer. You've got this weird open music port, port 37.8, like it's not even supposed to be there. And suddenly somebody starts playing a guitar and they're making you feel things.
Yep.
Or, like in particular instruments like the violin, it's
unforgiving.
So difficult. It's so unforgiving. And when it gives up its secrets, it just, it wraps its fingers around your heart and won't let go. Sometimes I talk about head, heart, and loins. When something can grab your head, heart, and your loins at the same moment.
Head, heart, and loins.
And integrate them. There are very few opportunities to live like that. And if you think about Eddie Van Halen, as far as your head, the musical innovations and the fact that he was drawing directly from the classical canon, really speaks to the idea that maybe rock is what somebody like Jimi Hendrix saw it as being, an infinitely extensible medium.
Yep.
In terms of heart, I always notice the smile on his face. It's painful
Right.
to look at an Eddie Van Halen solo
Oh,
now. Like sometimes you'll see
cigarettes.
the cigarette dripping off the side of his mouth, and you're like, "That's gonna fucking kill you." And I'm not even worried about it for you. I'm worried about it for me. You're gonna rob. I don't
Yeah.
even need to hear you play another note. I just like knowing that you're in the world, that there is somebody that everyone looks to. That nobody. I've never heard a guitarist say, I don't know. I think he was okay. Like,
Yeah, I know,
I never
exactly.
heard it. You can hate him, but you still think he was a genius.
Yeah, exactly.
There are very few people like that in the world. And then Loyens, those leaps. That guy was incredibly good looking.
Totally.
Skin tight pants, super athleticism.
Yeah.
He completely owned the sexuality, the male sexuality of the stage, both being the completely
Like David Lee
dominant,
Roth,
you know,
too.
sort of mythical alpha male. I hate that expression, but there you are. But also this kind of little boy with this mischievous smirk,
Yeah.
and the sense that it all came together. How could you not eat that up?
You could just imagine the
I'm
million.
going to pause it right here.
Young teenage.
And I'll put the whole podcast in the comments section. So, like Eric Weinstein, the way he describes it. And yes, Eddie Van Halen, this incredibly good-looking guy, the dark hair, handsome face, at the build too. Sometimes he would have his shirt off, or whatever, but you'd see the striations and muscles. I mean, and he just was, the stage presence was incredible. He and David Lee Roth, it really was like the athleticism. And we used to say when we were younger, starting out playing guitar, like we used to say, every guy wants to be Eddie Van Halen. Oh, I'm going to say it wrong. Every guy wants to be like Eddie Van Halen, and every woman, forget it. I forget the line. But men and women fucking loved Eddie, right? Like, men didn't want to sleep with Eddie, but I'm sure maybe there were some. But, but nevertheless, we all loved and appreciated him. And man, is he badass. He looks so fucking cool. And how many people started playing guitar because of fucking Eddie? All right. There you go. Eric Weinstein on Lex Fridman. I'll put the link in the comments section. Enjoy. And I'm finishing up on Joe Rogan, Tristan Harris. Good friends, good books on a sleepy conscience. Peace, love, and understanding here in Tabor Talk.